I went back to the day when my wealthy benefactor confessed his feelings to me. Back then, I was blind to what was right in front of me and actually turned him down. Now, fate has granted me a second chance to do things differently. Without hesitation, I tiptoed up and kissed him on the lips, even daring to give it a little lick. His ears turned red as if they were bleeding, so innocently affected. Just before I traveled back in time, we had been in close contact. At the moment I tiptoed up and kissed his thin lips, everyone around us fell silent. They watched in shock, some even screaming. They all knew that Shinshoushing's confession was because he lost a game. I didn't care about the noises around us. I just kept my eyes open, looking at Shinshoushing. His eyes were so beautiful, filled with adorable bewilderment at the moment, so innocent. I noticed Shinshoushing swallow hard. He had reacted. Yet he didn't push me away. A mischievous thought crossed my mind. And I secretly chuckled. I extended my tongue and gently licked his soft lips. Shinshoushing stiffened immediately, and after a few seconds, he pushed me away, his face bright red and incredulous. And there I was, the culprit who had caused him to lose his composure in public for the first time, looking innocently back at him with a gentle smile. Shinshoushing, so I get to see you again. The crowd around us was still restless. I was getting carried away and about to spout some bold words to stir up the scene even more, but the next second, everything went black, and I suddenly fainted. Before I collapsed, I saw panic on Shinshoushing's handsome face. He showed a crack in his facade. I fell into his arms. When I woke up, I was lying in a hospital bed. The faint smell of disinfectant filled my nose. The air was quiet, a stark contrast to the noisy party. I turned my head and met the gaze of the person sitting by my bed. Slightly surprised, Shinshoushing, what are you doing here? His eyes were not as indifferent as before, but they still held a certain distance, yet his ears were red, as if betraying his true feelings. I quickly caught on, my eyes curving into a smile as I drew out my words. Oh, are you worried about me? At that, Shinshoushing stood up. The chair screeched against the floor as he moved. He didn't answer my question, just gave me a cold look. You're fine, I'm leaving. I almost forgot. The desirous Shinshoushing at 20 was still like a distant, icy, unattainable flower. Seeing him about to leave, I quickly sat up and grabbed his arm. Wait a minute, what do you mean I'm fine? I don't even know what happened. Shinshoushing turned his head, his gaze falling on my hand, and I quickly let go. His expression cooled, his tone tinged with impatience. All the tests are normal. There's nothing wrong with your body, of course. I knew there was nothing wrong with my body. The fainting was probably a side effect of time traveling, but I needed an excuse to keep him here, so I looked at him with pitiful eyes. But I'm really scared. Shinshoushing pursed his lips, silent for a few seconds, then coldly said, the doctor said it might be due to shock. What? I felt like Shinshoushing was the one who had been more shocked. What shock did I have? After all, I had kissed Shinshoushing's lips countless times before. Why won't you explain? Shinshoushing asked the question but turned his back, not looking at me. Meanwhile, my mind was preoccupied with a different thought. I didn't really listen to his question. How can I stay with him a little longer? Before I came here, I was lying in a hospital bed just like I am now, covered in tubes, an oxygen mask over my face, surrounded by darkness, my mind foggy and feeling pain everywhere. I was wheeled into the operating room time and again, no one waited outside the door when I was awake. Besides the fear of death, I desperately missed Shinshoushing. I just wanted to see him one more time before I died. Please, please. I don't know how long I suffered in the darkness. Then, I suddenly opened my eyes and found myself sitting on a sofa in a private room at a restaurant. Shinshoushing stood before me, his appearance exceptionally striking. His face bore a casual, almost reckless expression, like a spoiled young master. He said he liked me. He asked if I wanted to be his girlfriend. I stared at him, stunned for a full 10 seconds. Someone mockingly laughed. She can't seriously be considering it. Everyone saw the impatience in Shinshoushing's brow. Only I knew he was actually feeling insecure. The seemingly cold and detached young man's heart was actually pounding furiously. I was worried he might not be able to breathe. So, I did something that took his breath away. I silently thanked heaven for giving me this opportunity to see Shinshoushing again. Shinshoushing at 20. Seen by others as cold and ruthless, yet secretly harboring a crush on me, Shinshoushing, my thoughts pulled away from these brief memories. I got off the hospital bed and put on my shoes, walking up to Shinshoushing. I looked up at him, my eyes clear. Shinshoushing, could you take me in for a while? I want to be with you every minute, every second, because I don't know when I might go back, so let me look at you a little longer, please. Shinshoushing was momentarily stunned, not understanding. I felt my eyes grow teary. Just looking at him made me want to cry. I perfectly played the part of the pitiful, causing a flicker of panic in his eyes. I pretended to sniffle. The dorm conflicts are intense. Someone is bullying me. Sorry, my dear dorm mates. For the sake of a man, I had to play the role of the villainess. Love you all. Kisses. Hearing this, Shinshoushing's brow furrowed, and a slow anger began to rise in his eyes. Seeing his expression worsen, I quickly waved my hands and stuttered, actually, it's because they're jealous I'm too pretty. If my beloved roommates heard this, would they kill me? I thought this ridiculous and foolish excuse would make Shinshirshing realize I was lying, but he didn't. Instead, he clenched his jaw and asked coldly, "What did they do? Ha ha ha. So, in your eyes, I am that beautiful." It was already past midnight, and Shinshirshing had stayed with me till this late. Truly a young master who was harsh with words but soft at heart. Stepping into Shinshirshing's private villa where he lived alone, I reached out and turned on the lights. The villa was brightly lit. I had lived here for a long time before, so I was incredibly familiar with the layout. The overly large villa had a decor that was both stark and simple. It was just like its owner. Shinshirshing stood at the door, his deep black eyes staring at me. "How did you know where the light switch was?" "Oh no." I couldn't very well say. "I'm too familiar with this place. You almost gave me the house." I had to feign innocence. "I just tried feeling around for the switch and found it." He closed the door, changed shoes, and got me a new pair of slippers too, just moments ago. I had barely managed to convince him to let me stay for 2 days. It was almost to the point of tears. Sitting on the sofa, feeling slightly uneasy, I looked around. Many times, Shinshirshing had kissed me breathlessly while holding me, but not on the set of sofas. Shinshirshing brought me a cup of hot water, then he casually sat opposite me. As if he had more to say, I couldn't help but lean a bit closer to him, a smile on my lips, watching him intently, his delicate eyebrows and eyes, his high nose, attractive lips, smooth jawline, and the youthful baseball jacket he wore. Shinshirshing at 20 was just superior. Although the 24-year-old Shinshirshing was equally charming, with added stability and maturity, he always spoke in an indisputable tone. At that moment, Shinshirshing folded his arms, staring at me intently as if trying to see through my thoughts. "Linhee, what exactly do you mean? Are you asking why I'm here? Or why I kissed you?" "Both." I was very calm. Without thinking, I blurted out, "Because I like you." It seemed as if he lost his hearing for a moment. Shinshirshing doubted for the first time whether he understood Mandarin. Otherwise, why was his mind completely blank? Then I corrected myself. "Oh no, not right." He pursed his lips quietly, his heart sinking, but then he heard me continue. "It's love, a roller coaster of emotions." Shinshirshing was stunned, frozen, unable to react, just looking at me. My smile was bright and lively, my gaze resolute, fixed only on him. "Because I love you, Shinshirshing, I love you." My heart had never beaten so intensely. My blood seemed to be boiling. Shinshirshing felt his breathing become hurried. Then he ran away in a panic. For the first time, so spinelessly, he couldn't keep looking at her, afraid he'd be unable to resist pulling her into his arms. Shinshirshing leaned against the door of his room, looking up and exhaling deeply. It was as if he could still hear her crisp laughter directed at his flustered retreat. This was too much. From last night to the early hours of today, everything seemed as unbelievable as a dream. Although Shinshirshing and Linhee had known each other since childhood, their interactions had been pitifully few. The person Linhee always watched was never him. Everyone knew about her girlish crush, and it seemed that he liked her too. They were destined to be happily together. Yet, Shinshirshing had still declared his feelings under the guise of a game, knowing the outcome, yet still uncontrollably hoping, and so, he received a tremendous surprise. He was so surprised that he doubted whether Linhee was really herself. It was as if she had become a completely different person. What did all this mean? Was she playing with his feelings after seeing through his thoughts? Was she betting with someone on when she would conquer him? Shinshirshing felt like he was going crazy. He couldn't stop himself from overthinking, even though he was ecstatic. He inevitably fell into a pit of suspicion and doubt. For the first time, Shinshirshing found himself unable to judge the situation. He knew things couldn't be that simple. Yet he desperately wanted to believe her. He wanted to trust every word, every letter she said. When he came out of the room, Linhee was already asleep on the couch. Shinshirshing draped a clean blanket over her. Her sleeping face was peaceful, her skin fair, and her long, dense eyelashes cast a small shadow under her eyes. Her lips curved in a slight smile. What could be so delightful that she was smiling even in her sleep? Shinshirshing had intended to prepare a guest room for her, but he was stumped by the bedding. He was the only one who lived in this villa. Although a maid came to clean every day, after a moment's thought, he picked her up and carried her upstairs to his own room. Linhee was thin and light, a tiny presence in his arms. After carefully tucking her in, Shinshirshing gazed at her for a while, then gently closed the door. After taking a bath, he went to sleep on the couch. The next day, I woke up with half of my face buried in the pillow, smelling a familiar fragrance, unique to a particular person. The scent often allowed me to sleep soundly. I reached out beside me, but felt no one there. I opened one eye and looked around. There were no signs that anyone had slept next to me. Barefoot, I got out of bed, rubbing my eyes, and walked out of the room. At the bathroom door, I ran into Shinshirshing, who had just finished washing up. Water droplets were still dripping down his smooth jawline. I naturally approached him, grumbling under my breath, "Humph, why didn't you sleep with me?" I reached out and wrapped my arms around his slim waist, nestling my face against his chest and acting coquettishly. Shinshirshing, however, did not hug me back right away. Feeling the stiffness in his body, I looked up, puzzled. Our eyes meeting. His clear eyes showed surprise and bewilderment. After a few seconds, it suddenly hit me. I had traveled through time, acting like this might make Shinshoushing think I'm being forward. I quickly let go of him and stepped back, my expression frantic. His lips were pressed into a straight line, and after a long silence, he finally spoke. Linhee, what exactly are you playing at? How do I explain this to him? The confession that slipped out yesterday had left me unsure of how to proceed. I always act too impulsively. I've traveled through time, but my mind is still catching up. The current Shinshoushing must think I'm very strange. He might even doubt if I'm really myself, suspecting I have ulterior motives. I stuttered. I don't know how to explain this to you. But what I said yesterday was true. This isn't helping at all, is it? It's as if I haven't said anything. Sobbing. I need to write the script and memorize the lines before I approach Shinshoushing again. Shinshoushing scoffed, leaving me speechless with a single sentence. He asked, "Does Fuchishin know about this?" I opened my mouth but no words came out. Seeing this, Shinshoushing's face showed a deeper mocking smile, and he turned and walked downstairs. I called out in a weak voice, "I will make you believe me." He paused, but continued on without turning back. I went back to my room to take a shower. She changed into a soft yet playful white long tulle dress. Paired with a light blue cardigan and white socks and shoes, her hair was styled in twin braids resting on her shoulders. With her fair, unblemished skin needing no makeup, she only applied a peach-colored lip gloss, a sweet shade that was not the overpowering Barbie pink, making her look irresistibly cute. Looking at her reflection, her eyes were clear and bright. "Yo, Miss Lin going for a sweet look today," one of her roommates teased with a sharp tone. "Going to a party and losing track of people. Huh, why did Shinshoushing answer when we called you?" another roommate demanded. "I was honestly asleep at the time," she confessed. All three roommates screamed in unison. Damn, feeling like her eardrums might burst, she quickly resorted to a white lie for self-preservation. "I fainted and had to stay overnight at the hospital. But don't worry, I'm fine." "Damn, so it's true that you kissed Shinshoushing?" After a few seconds of silence, where the rumor had evidently spread, she couldn't lie about it. She nodded in admission. "Yes." All three roommates gasped in shock. "Weren't you planning to confess your feelings to Fuchishin just a few days ago?" She thought for a moment indeed she had such plans. But what was she thinking before? She couldn't continue making such foolish mistakes. She remembered when Shinshoushing had confessed to her in front of everyone. She just shook her head and chuckled. "Stop joking." The party was crowded with wealthy young people from the same social circle, busy with their games and conversations. Everyone knew he had just lost a game, so no one expected her to accept his proposal. And her refusal was quickly dismissed as everyone returned to their activities. After Shinshoushing left without looking back, she suddenly made up her mind and approached a young man. Her face flushed as she looked up at him. "Brother Chishin, I've liked you for a long time." The crowd cheered on. It was well known that the young master of the Fu family and the Lin family heiress had grown up together, childhood sweethearts with a deep bond. A marriage between the two families would maximize their interests. With both sides having feelings for each other, why not go ahead? Fu Chishin was slightly surprised by her boldness, but soon responded gently, telling her that he had also always liked her. So, that day, she and Fu Chishin became a couple. Fu Chishin, with his handsome, gentle demeanor, was irresistible to any young girl, but she overlooked one critical point at that time. Fu Chishin's gentleness wasn't reserved for her alone. Indeed, he liked her, but his kindness wouldn't allow him to turn anyone away. So later, her stepsister ended up in his bed. He had the audacity to claim he was only trying to keep her from getting cold since she was undressed. "So you were just transferring body heat by being naked yourself. Such helpfulness could be deadly, right?" This despicable pair. The more she thought about it, the angrier she became. Just then, Mr. Lin called to remind her of the lunch meeting today. Oh right, this very lunch meeting had just seen her and Fu Chishin getting engaged. Shinshoushing would be there too. The Lin, Fu, and Shin families had been close friends for generations, their parents having grown up together. Apart from holidays, they occasionally met for meals. This time, since she and Fu Chishin were no longer together, there would be no engagement. Good, the situation had taken a new turn. Stepping out from the Bentley sent by Mr. Lin, she had just entered a five-star hotel when she was stopped by someone calling her from behind. Turning around, she saw Uncle Fu and Aunt Fu. Though Fu Chishin was nowhere to be seen, I greeted them politely. Aunt Fu greeted me warmly as she took my hand. "Ahi, it's been so long since I've seen you. Why don't you visit this old lady more often?" "Aunt Fu, your skin is even more tender than mine. You look so young," I said with a laugh. "I've missed you too, but I've been quite busy with my studies lately." She patted my head. "I used to braid your hair so often when you were little. Now, looking at you, I still think of you as that little girl." Uncle Fu joined in with a laugh. In the blink of an eye, our Ahi is already 20 years old. "Do you wish Ahi would marry into your family soon?" Suddenly, another voice chimed in jokingly. It was Shinshoushing's parents. Aunt Chin stood by, arm in arm with Uncle Chin, both wearing gentle, affectionate smiles. they looked the picture of a peaceful life, always known for their loving relationship. Hearing this, Aunt Fu feigned surprise. You caught me. Ah, he is so beautiful. It's a pity that Qin Shixing can't compete with your Qixin. I smiled lightly, thinking to myself, Aunt Qin, don't jump to conclusions too soon. Qin Shixing could indeed compete, and he didn't even need to try. Standing there was enough. This time, I would walk towards him with absolute certainty. With an arm length through each of two lovely aunts, I headed towards the reserved private room, feeling utterly content. Old Lin was already there waiting in the private room, along with my stepmother and her daughter, my stepsister, Lu Shishir. As we entered, my stepmother Lu Qing immediately put on a sycophantic smile and stood up, not forgetting to show off her newly bought designer handbag. I glanced at her and couldn't help but chuckle. Decked out in gold and silver, she was quite the cliché, afraid of being overshadowed even during a family gathering meant to bond, but who really respected her. She was just a homewrecker who climbed into my dad's bed using her youth. Naturally, I harbored resentment towards old Lin for cheating on my mother when she was pregnant with me and for remarrying so soon after she died in childbirth. However, I can't deny that everything I have is thanks to old Lin. He provided me with the best material life and pampered me into an enviable princess. So, I loved and respected him all the same. Aunt Qin and Aunt Fu never liked Lu Qing and barely hid their disdain, so they merely greeted her politely. When faced with Lu Qing's petty topics, they just responded with smiles, deliberately not engaging. Soon, the uncomfortable expressions on the faces of Lu Qing and Lu Shishir became evident, and they learned to keep quiet. Old Lin, oblivious to their discomfort, immediately started discussing business with Uncle Fu and Uncle Qin as soon as he saw them, unexpectedly. Fu Qixin and Qin Shixing arrived together. Although the three of us grew up together, our relationship with Qin Shixing wasn't particularly close and had grown more distant with age. I used to think it was because Qin Shixing was aloof and didn't want to play with us. Only later did I realize with a chilling clarity that it was actually Fu Qixin who had been leading me to isolate Qin Shixing. He would say that Qin Shixing looked impatient, and we shouldn't bother him. He would say that Qin Shixing was busy practicing piano and studying, so we shouldn't include him in our plans. He would say that Qin Shixing always ignored him, probably because he disliked him. It was all Fu Qixin's doing, and I, obediently following Fu Qixin's words, kept my distance from Qin Shixing. It's not hard to see why Fu Qixin disliked Qin Shixing, despite Fu Qixin being sweet-tongued and likable. Adults often praised the reticent Qin Shixing. Even though Fu Qixin was talented in many areas, he still couldn't surpass Qin Shixing, a natural piano prodigy. Fu Qixin worked hard in his studies, yet the top spot always belonged to Qin Shixing. Children's jealousy is not to be underestimated, and from a young age, he considered Qin Shixing his rival. What infuriated him was that Qin Shixing never took him seriously, not caring even for his childish tricks. Fu Qixin smiled in public, but behind closed doors, he was almost driven mad by jealousy, until he discovered who that indifferent boy, Qin Shixing, was always watching with his deep eyes. It seemed he had finally found his weakness. I sat next to Aunt Fu, and Fu Qixin naturally took the seat next to me on the other side. Fortunately, the dining table was large enough that, even with 10 people seated, there was ample space between them. Qin Shixing walked straight to the only empty seat between Fu Qixin and Lu Shishir. From the moment they entered, my attention was fixed on Qin Shixing, and I didn't even hear Fu Qixin calling my name. As soon as Qin Shixing sat down, I swiftly stood up and looked at Fu Qixin. Can we switch seats? Forgive my rudeness. I didn't call him brother like I used to, because thinking about what this seemingly gentle but hypocritical person would do in the future made me feel violently inclined. Fu Qixin was indeed stunned, his gaze slightly surprised, but he stood up and switched seats with me nonetheless. Seeing this, Aunt Fu asked in confusion, why did Ahe move over there? I turned my head and caught Qin Shixing's eye, giving him a sly wink, then turned sweetly to Aunt Fu. I wanted to sit next to brother Qin Shixing. My voice was clear and forthright, attracting the attention of everyone at the table. I didn't look at Fu Qixin. Lao Lin was the first to ask with a smile. What are you up to now? I immediately retorted. What's wrong with wanting to sit here? Weren't you always glued to Qixin before? Why are you suddenly all about Shixing? Lao Lin, hold your tongue. In a few years when you're swindled and in debt, without Qin Shixing, we'd both be long gone. Since the adults were present, I had to act normal, so I simply spread my hands, feigning innocence. I'm just sitting in the middle, spreading the love evenly. They all laughed, saying I was still such a little girl, the little girl they had spoiled from a young age. Fu Qixin's gaze was heavy, but his voice was incredibly gentle. Ahe, you scared me when you suddenly fainted yesterday. Shixing said the checkup was fine, just a shock. Hearing this, my smile was forced, wanting to retort, but I had to remain polite and let him finish. His smile was as warm as a spring breeze. You must have been shocked by Shixing's sudden confession, right? Fu Qixin deliberately didn't mention my kiss with Qin Shixing, nor did he clarify that Qin Shixing's confession was the result of losing a game. Previously, I might not have understood his intentions, but now I see it all too clearly. Fu Qixin wanted me to publicly state that I didn't like Qin Shixing, that I only wanted to be with him. this is something the old me might have done. Fu Qixin knew me too well. Thus he always used me to hurt Qinshishing. Fu Qixin, what a schemer. The elders were shocked by his words, but it was Aunt Chen who reacted first, her face lighting up. What, did Qinshishing finally come to his senses? Qinshishing remained calm, casually explaining, I lost a game. Aunt Chen's face fell with disappointment, while Uncle Fu and Aunt Fu breathed a sigh of relief. I turned to look at Fu Qixin, a look of grievance on my face. Brother Qixin, you care so much about me. Why weren't you there when I woke up, instead? It was Qinshishing who stayed by my side until midnight. Fu Qixin's smile stiffened as he explained, no, Ahe, I was there too, but something came up last minute, so I had to leave early. Oh, I see, I realized, nodding in understanding, giving him a way to save face. Ahe's safety is more important than anything, Aunt Fu scolded. You guys should have informed us immediately. Thankfully, Ahe was fine. Soon, the meal was served, and everyone chatted while eating. The atmosphere warm and harmonious as the topic of conversation shifted continuously. Then, someone brought up the engagement of the only son of the Su Corporation that had occurred not long ago. Despite being of similar age, he was engaged and preparing to step into marriage, whereas none of us had even been in a relationship. We've always supported free love, you know. Don't keep it a secret from us if you start dating someone. Look at the Su family's kid. Engaged now and planning to marry right after graduating from university. What a blissful life. You should be brave when you meet someone you like, especially you guys, they urged, not wanting any hesitance. Speaking of which, has Ahe met any nice guys? Caught off guard, the question was suddenly thrown at me. I was mid-bite into a rib, my mouth smeared with sauce, and I looked up blankly. Fu Qixin considerately reached out with a napkin, attempting to wipe the sauce from the corner of my mouth with a natural gesture, but I immediately dodged backward, and his hand froze midair. The room fell silent. Realizing the awkwardness, I set down my chopsticks, took the napkin with a thanks, and addressed the elephant in the room before the elders could ask. A nice guy, there are some, indeed. Upon hearing this, old Lin's eyes widened like saucers. Who is it? A classmate. A university classmate. High school. Is it Qixin? Or Shishing? It can't be that handsome songboy from the last dinner, can it? I twitched my mouth. Just because I said someone is nice doesn't mean I'm with him. Is it necessary to react like this? He's not interested in you. After a pause, old Lin hit the nail on the head. It was my turn to be silent. The situation was trickier than just being unrequited. Qinshishing didn't trust me, couldn't possibly believe in me, and was still angry with me. And only now did I start to notice Fu Qixin's little actions. How much must I have hurt Qinshishing in the past, anyway? I must not repeat the same mistakes, anyway. I suddenly raised my voice, bravely declaring, I do have someone I like, and I've confessed to him. Old Lin became anxious. Who is it then? Everyone else looked curious too. I turned to look at Qinshishing, our eyes meeting unexpectedly. His eyes were deep, hiding emotions I couldn't understand, his face expressionless. I suddenly realized, I couldn't be impulsive. After hesitating, my voice softened. Let's wait until I've won him over before I tell you. Then, Lu Qing chuckled. Who else does our Miss Lin need to chase? Someone from a better family than ours. I was left speechless, managing only a strained smile. Why do you care so much when you like someone? After a brief pause, I feigned a sudden realization. Oh, I almost forgot, Aunt Lu. You're the best at weighing pros and cons, aren't you? Aunt Lu's face fell instantly, but she dared not say anything more. I didn't care at all. After greeting everyone, I stood up and left the private room, heading towards the restroom. I patted my chest and sighed in relief. It was a good thing I held back. If I had blurted out Qinshishing's name just then, I wouldn't have been able to control the situation. I need to take it slow. I can't rush things. Everything must happen naturally. Suddenly, everything went black before my eyes, and I lost consciousness, fainting once again. When I woke up, I was greeted by clean, simple colors. I found myself back in a hospital bed. Aunt Fu and Aunt Chen were overjoyed to see me awake, and they crowded around. Ahi, you're awake. You had us so worried. Ahi, do you feel unwell anywhere now? Looking at their anxious faces, my mind went blank, and I looked on bewildered. My brain seemed to become more useless by the day, as a bizarre array of images flooded my vision. Who was the person I wanted to see, struggling in the darkness, constantly fighting my restraints? Who was it for? Qinshishing. His tall figure flashed through my mind, and with a hoarse voice, I began to cry out, Qinshishing, where is Qinshishing? They all looked stunned, while I continued to cry and repeat Qinshishing's name, louder and louder. During that time, as I lay in the hospital bed, I saw only two colors, stark white and pitch black. In those unbearable days, I fought so hard to live just for another glimpse of him. Aunt Chen finally snapped out of it and immediately went out to call someone. Soon, the door opened again. I jumped out of bed and ran barefoot towards it. Fu Qixin walked ahead, extending his hands which I ignored, my gaze fixed as I followed him. I threw myself into Qinshishing's arms, clinging tightly to his waist, sobbing breathlessly. His arms hung in midair. Unsure where to place them, everyone present was stunned. The room filled only with the sound of my sobs, the familiar, comforting scent of Chinshurshing soothed me, gradually calming me down. I looked up at him, feeling a bit wronged. Why weren't you here? Why weren't you here when I woke up? I buried my head in his chest again, crying, hold me. After a long silence, Chinshurshing sighed softly, conceded, and wrapped his arms around me, comforting me in a low voice. It's my fault. Lin, don't cry. Everyone was stunned. Chinshurshing bent down, picked me up, and gently placed me back on the bed. Aunt Chen's face lit up with joy. You guys. Aunt Fu seemed as if she had been robbed, speechless for a long moment. At 5:30 in the afternoon, Lao Lin canceled an important meeting and drove personally to pick me up, murmuring with concern the whole way. I was sitting in the back seat, the car window open, enjoying the comfortable breeze of the early evening. Dad. Don't worry, all the test results came back normal. How many times has it been now? No, that's it. I'm booking a flight abroad for a checkup. I shifted my gaze from the window to Lao Lin and gently reassured him. I know my own body. I've just been too tired lately, a bit weak. Don't worry, Dad. Lao Lin wanted to say more, but I didn't give him the chance, changing the subject. Actually, don't take me home, drop me back at school. I still have some study matters to deal with. Lao Lin changed directions, obliging my request. Before I got out of the car, he finally asked, what exactly is going on with you and Shishing? I couldn't hide it anymore, and there was no point in trying, so I simply admitted, I like him. Lao Lin pondered for a few seconds before speaking. And what about Qixin? Lin, don't let emotions cloud your judgment. If you've had an argument with Qixin, don't drag others into it. Everyone thought I was just being temperamental. Everyone thought I liked Fu Qixin. Such assumptions were really making me uncomfortable now, so I countered more firmly than before. No, the person I've always liked is Chinshurshing. After a moment of silence, Lao Lin compromised again. As long as you know what you're doing. Back in my dormitory, I dragged my packed suitcase to the school gate and called Chinshurshing. Chinshurshing arrived quickly by car. I pointed to the suitcase, asking him to load it into the trunk, but he hesitated. Just quietly looking at me, I raised an eyebrow and asked, you didn't think I was joking yesterday, did you? People passed by, eyeing us curiously as we stood in a standoff. At 6 o'clock, the street lamps along the sidewalk lit up, bright and glaring. I remained resolute. Chinshurshing, move it. Chinshurshing's expression finally softened. He slowly walked over to me, looking down with a sigh. Lin, I don't know what I did to upset you. He was a full head taller than me. But I looked up at him fearlessly, and after a few seconds, I smiled brilliantly. Yeah, Chinshurshing, you wouldn't dare upset me, you coward. No one dared to talk to him like that, not even the old me. But I was different now. I knew he loved me, so I was proudly spoiled. Chinshurshing's lips formed a straight line, his gaze deep. I stood on my tiptoes, hooked his neck to pull him down, and then whispered into his ear as if sharing a secret. Chinshurshing, you're a coward. Too scared to say you love me. Chinshurshing's heart skipped a beat, his rhythm thrown off, and he couldn't help but widen his eyes in astonishment, his nerves tensing up. It felt like a secret that had been hidden for many years was suddenly brought into the sunlight. I withdrew my hand, steadied myself, and stared at him without blinking. His smile grew increasingly bright and radiant as he looked at me. I said, Chinshurshing, I've never lied to you. Everything I said yesterday was true. Including when I said I love you. I'm not like you. I'm no coward. Each word clearly reached his ears. Chinshurshing felt a dryness in his throat, experiencing a sense of helplessness for the first time. The person in front of him continued to smile warmly at him. The emotions he had long restrained and controlled finally surged like a tidal wave. Before I could react, Chinshurshing leaned in and kissed me. He held my head, eyes closed, naively exploring forward. I gently pushed him, and Chinshurshing ended up sitting on the sofa. The curtains were tightly drawn, not letting in a sliver of light. In the dim space, under an ambiguous atmosphere, there were soft breaths. I straddled Chinshurshing's legs, sitting upright, slightly taller than him. I skillfully reached for his chest, attempting to unbutton his shirt, then realized something wasn't right. It wasn't an expensive designer shirt, but a comfortable cotton t-shirt without any buttons. Chinshurshing breathed softly, his warm breath on my face. His usually calm and deep eyes were now tumultuous. His face flushed, too shy to maintain eye contact with me, constantly avoiding my gaze. He was so green he even forgot to breathe properly. Chinshurshing at 20 really moved. I leaned down to kiss him again, our lips and teeth intertwined, ceaselessly lingering. As emotions deepened, the sound of our kissing filled the air. After a long while, I leaned on his shoulder, panting in his ear, softly enticing him. Chinshurshing, be good. Take off your clothes. After speaking, my hand slid under his shirt, touching his abs, but suddenly, Chinshurshing grabbed my hand. I looked up at him, puzzled. What? He has abs and I can't touch them. He looked at me for a long moment, unable to speak. Then he covered my eyes with his hand, pressing my head into his chest. Chinshurshing's voice was low and husky, his breath brushing past my ear. It's too fast. I was momentarily stunned, then couldn't help but laugh. Chen Shishing at 20, such strong self-control, after all. Chen Shishing at 24 didn't have much self-control. Or he wouldn't have ended up as my sugar daddy. My laughter grew louder, bending forward and back. Chen Shishing cursed softly and suddenly picked me up, placing me on the sofa. Then he fled to the bathroom as if escaping. I collapsed in laughter on the sofa. Indeed, Chen Shishing is someone you could fall in love with at any age. That night, no matter how much I coaxed, Chen Shishing refused to share the bed with me, so I had no choice but to sneak into his bed in the middle of the night. I had no bad intentions, I just wanted to sleep holding him. That would make me feel utterly safe. But in the middle of the night, I couldn't open his bedroom door. Damn coward, locked the door. At this moment, the progress has been unexpectedly swift. In just 2 days, I've made significant breakthroughs with Chen Shishing. I can't help but proclaim that true love is invincible. Having been so close to Chen Shishing in the past, our current interactions are completely effortless for me. But it's a whole different story for Chen Shishing. He seems reserved and cool, but he's actually quite innocent. He blushes when I kiss him a couple more times, and if he gets too flustered, he hides away secretly. Oh my, how could I have ever fallen for Fu Qixin in the past? From any perspective, Chen Shishing is leagues ahead of him after carelessly enjoying a few days of happiness. I must now attend to some pressing matters and deal with my scheming and malicious stepmother. Given Lu Qing's limited intellect, it must have been challenging for her to attempt bankrupting my dad, so she definitely had an accomplice. My green tea scheming stepsister is practically useless, so I'll leave her aside for now. The key is to find out who is really behind this. Thus, I discreetly hired someone to investigate Lu Qing. Within just a week, I received several photos of Lu Qing entering a hotel with a middle-aged man. That hotel is very private, requiring advance reservations. And the two seemed very familiar with the place. Sitting cross-legged on the sofa, I looked at the photos on my phone and frowned, feeling that the middle-aged man looked somewhat familiar. Chen Shishing came over with a glass of milk and sat beside me, offering it to me. Would you like some? I put down my phone, smiled, reached out to take it, and drank a few sips. Chen Shishing, have you forgotten what I told you? He raised an eyebrow. What? I set the cup on the coffee table and countered. What should you be calling me? Chen Shishing paused, pursed his lips, and did not respond. It seems you haven't forgotten. I moved closer to him and sat on his lap, reaching out to hook his neck. Chen Shishing's ears turned red, but his face remained calm. Are you shy, big brother? Why are you so easily embarrassed? I looked at him, smiling with my fangs showing. Isn't it just calling me baby? Can't you even do that? Chen Shishing at 20. Little does he know how crazy he will become in a few years. Perhaps, he will no longer be able to control his love, after enduring for so many years. Once he touches me, he can no longer restrain his feelings and desires. When I was 24, old Lin's business encountered problems. He lost a lot of money and incurred a huge debt. Lu Qing quickly filed for divorce and left cleanly. By then, I had already acted in several dramas and was a somewhat famous actress. To earn more money, I worked tirelessly, taking on any dramas, movies, and commercials that paid, regardless of their quality. Fans praised me for my hard work, while detractors criticized me for being reckless in pursuit of fame. I didn't care about public opinion. I was focused solely on making money, like a special forces soldier among actresses. I had been pampered for over 20 years, always seen as a princess in others' eyes. But even a princess has the strength and determination to bravely face all difficulties. Old Lin took on the toughest jobs that paid quickly, but the massive debt felt like a bottomless pit that we could never fully repay. I was terrified that if we couldn't settle the debts soon, Old Lin would end up in prison, so I had to keep earning as much as I could. During a dinner, a director surnamed Huang kept forcing me to drink. My manager couldn't stand it and intervened multiple times, which greatly displeased Director Huang. He gave me a stern look and warned me that the filming hadn't started yet and the lead actress could be replaced at any time. I quickly offered a smile and punished myself by downing 3 drinks. Director Huang was satisfied. By then, the alcohol had hit me, and I staggered out to secretly take some sobering medicine. Unexpectedly, the lecherous Director Huang followed me. In the corridor, he tried to make advances. I kept backing away, dizzy from the alcohol, too weak to resist, feeling helpless and scared. Fear filled my heart. Just as Director Huang was about to grab me, someone punched him square in the face, knocking him hard to the ground. The person seemed not yet satisfied, bent down, grabbed Huang by the collar, and furiously pounded him with his fists until Huang was powerless to fight back. After a while, the person stopped, wiped his bloody hands on Huang's clothes, and stood up, tears blurring my vision. I looked up at him. Chen Shishing. Chen Shishing took off his suit jacket, draped it over my shoulders, his handsome eyes coldly gazing at me as he extended his hand. He asked me, "Do you want to come with me?" Looking at this brother who had grown up with me, I lowered my eyes and nodded. Yes. Wearing high heels, dizzy, I staggered and couldn't walk fast. Chen Shishing scooped me up and walked forward smoothly. I leaned against his chest, hearing him say, "Lin He. You only have the right to choose the beginning, not the end, understand. Chen Shishing had taken over his family's company early, after old Mr. Lin ran into trouble. He helped a lot, but Mr. Lin steadfastly refused to take his money. When I handed the money to Mr. Lin, he was stunned for a long time, then asked me, Lin, where did this money come from? I didn't steal or rob, I earned it myself. Mr. Lin trembled with anger, threw the bank card on the ground, and yelled at me for the first time, where did you get so much money, Lin? Saying this, Mr. Lin turned his back, his shoulders trembling slightly. The tall figure I had looked up to all my life suddenly seemed aged. The father who had been my whole sky also had his vulnerable moments. Your dad is sorry. It's all my fault. My nose was sore, my eyes painfully stinging. Yet I forced a smile and lied casually. What are you talking about? This money is an advance on my salary from a decades-long contract with the company. I haven't done anything to harm myself. I walked over and hugged Mr. Lin's shoulders. Dad, I've grown up now. I'll earn money and take care of you. After being your little princess for so many years, it's time you enjoyed being the emperor. Ha ha ha. Chen Shishing was truly wealthy, after helping me and Mr. Lin pay off our debts. He transferred a large sum of money to me. I told him no need for more money, I could earn it myself. Chen Shishing's indifferent voice came through the phone, casually saying, take on fewer jobs. I'm already doing much less than before. You're not physically up for it. His words immediately made me grasp the underlying meaning, causing my cheeks to heat up and my fingers to curl slightly, unable to utter a word in retort. Heaven knows, I never expected that it was my first time. And surprisingly, it was Chen Shishing's too. Chen Shishing, at the age of 24, is exceptionally handsome and possesses an immense fortune. Despite widespread rumors of his ascetic lifestyle, many people disregard these and relentlessly pursue him. I didn't expect him to be so restrained. The foreplay was so thorough. I thought he was experienced, but it turned out not to be the case, fortunately. His lack of skill meant that it didn't last too long. Later, when I cried out in pain, it was Chen Shishing who held me close and gently soothed me for a long time. Progress tends to move forward, to rise. Chen Shishing, truly a prodigy, improved tremendously by the next time. He seemed to particularly enjoy kissing. He always loved to hold me close, our lips and teeth intertwined. Chen Shishing wouldn't let me turn off the lights. He held my wrist and leaned close. See clearly. Who am I? Too shy to meet his gaze. I replied softly, Chen Shishing. He slightly raised his eyebrows, came closer to my ear, his voice husky. Yes, say something nice, brother. Chen Shishing paused, then began to kiss me. It seemed I had instantly found Chen Shishing's weak spot. Every time I called him brother, he couldn't help but lose control, excited. And yet, he insisted I keep saying it. I stared at the glaring ceiling light for most of the night. Chen Shishing gently kissed away my tears with a raspy voice. Lin, you're not allowed to call anyone else like that. I was so drained. Nearly losing my voice, I gasped and cursed. Jerk. Yes, I am, Chen Shishing calmly admitted. Did you hear that? His movements became more intense. I immediately begged for mercy. Brother, I heard. I do sometimes wonder, does Chen Shishing keep me by his side because he likes my face, or my body? But there are so many beautiful girls. Why me? Is it because a relationship maintained by money is easy to control? And because he knows my current predicament? He's certain I won't reject him, although we grew up together and our families are close friends. To be honest, my relationship with Chen Shishing isn't very intimate, at best slightly more familiar than acquaintances. Chen Shishing is too outstanding. We, his peers, can neither keep up with his pace nor even see his back. Thus, his indifferent attitude towards others seems justified. He has the confidence to ignore us. His peers readily accept Chen Shishing's arrogance. After all, he's in a league of his own, and everyone simply starts to idolize him. Now, in his 20s, Chen Shishing has already taken over his family's company, operating it successfully and decisively, demonstrating a sharp business acumen. Meanwhile, I am a fallen heiress dealing with my father's debts and a cheating fiancé. I can't fathom why he chose me, even though I can't understand this. I know I shouldn't get emotionally involved, or I'm the one who will end up hurt. Chen Shishing and I. How could there ever be a future? I am well aware that our statuses are not equal. He's completely out of my league, yet, my heart doesn't listen to my brain, nor does it deceive. It often pounds furiously for Chen Shishing. How can it not, when Chen Shishing possesses such an impressive appearance? When he works in the study, his face serious, wearing black half-frame glasses, his shirt collar slightly open, revealing a delicate collarbone. He's charming without even realizing it. Indeed, a serious man is the most handsome. Isn't this work supposed to be pure seduction? Sorry, but for someone as sensitive as me, everything feels intense. If his mission was to win me over, well, he succeeded. I stood at the door, holding a cup of milk, completely transfixed, until Chen Shishing, busy at work, inadvertently looked up and saw me, nodded at me, signaling me to come in. I walked over and placed the milk on his desk. It's warm, thank you. He was dragging his mouse to check a page on his computer and didn't look up. just thanked me. He seemed really busy with work. I should have turned around and left, not disturbing his work. But I didn't move, just stood there, mesmerized by him again, until Chinchushing noticed, looked up, and our eyes met, caught in the act. I was frightened and quickly turned to leave, but he firmly grabbed my wrist, pulling me towards him. Suddenly, I found myself sitting on his lap, our distance much closer. Chinchushing, with a teasing smile, looked at me and asked, "Do you like the view?" Damn it, even though I've been this close to him for over half a year, much closer than this gesture, I still nervously bit my lip. Chinchushing could easily make my heart flutter. Yes, very much. Chinchushing chuckled lightly, reaching out to tousle my hair. Our relationship was growing closer by the day, living together like a young couple. When I wasn't filming, I'd stay at home, and Chinchushing would bring his work home. I remembered something exciting and thanked him enthusiastically. "By the way, I landed the lead role in that movie. Thanks for your help." He responded indifferently, lightly shaking his head. "I just recommended you to the producer. You were chosen on your own merit. Don't put it all on me." Hearing this, I was momentarily stunned, then joy spread from the bottom of my heart. Damn, he really knows how to make my heart struggle to keep up. Chinchushing suddenly said, "Ah hey, help me take off my glasses." If it were anyone else, I'd retort, "Don't you have hands?" But facing his handsome face, I obediently reached out and took off his glasses. Before I could properly set down the glasses in my hand, Chinchushing pulled me into a kiss. After kissing for a while, Chinchushing suddenly cleared the middle of the desk with a sweep of his arm and lifted me to sit on it. In such a formal place as the study. We were engaging in something not so formal. Chinchushing treated me incredibly well, flawlessly so. Luxury brand bags and dresses filled an entire closet, and he'd gift me cars worth millions with a wave of his hand. When I was sick with a fever, Chinchushing silently took care of me all night. He got infected too, but wouldn't let me near him, choosing to go to the hospital alone. When filming out of town, I jokingly said I missed him, and 2 hours later, when I opened the door, there was Chinchushing, travel-worn and exhausted from work. When he saw me, he smiled rarely, making a joke. "Ah hey, I found the magic door." Once, when I was on a variety show, a male actor maliciously mocked my acting skills and even ridiculed my parents' divorce. Was it because I'm a girl? Aren't girls often blamed for their parents' strife? I was dumbfounded at the time. I couldn't believe someone could live from the Qing dynasty to the present and still be so long-lived. I was stunned for a long while. In front of all the cameras, I walked over, intending to slap that male actor, but people around immediately stopped me. I roared, "Isn't your mother a woman? Weren't you born from a woman? People like you with such nonsensical thinking deserve a slap each." Of course, that segment was never aired. The male actor was very upset and posted several sarcastic tweets about me, demanding an apology for my rude remarks. Somehow, Chinchushing heard about this and immediately took up my cause. Within a few days, that male actor lost all his jobs and ended up crying in an apology video he posted online, which only led to even more criticism. That felt great. Chinchushing told me to inform him whenever I felt wronged and not to endure it alone. It felt like a long time since someone had my back. Since the family incident, I found myself increasingly alienated by friends, struggling alone on my career path, enduring countless grievances. But now, Chinchushing reassured me that he would always be there to support me. I should never fear anything or anyone. I needed to have that confidence. Damn, I seemed unable to control my emotions anymore. I was hopelessly falling for Chinchushing's affection. That night, Chinchushing and I were sitting in a rocking chair on the balcony, gazing at the stars and the moon, sipping a few drinks. When I was slightly tipsy, I casually asked him if he liked me and why he treated me so well. Hearing this, Chinchushing's hand trembled with the glass, and after a long silence, he looked up, finished his drink in one gulp, and then looked at me seriously. He answered off topic. "When I found out Fuchishin cheated, I went and beat him up." I had almost forgotten about catching Fuchishin and Lushurshur in the act. Back then, I was very calm and slapped them several times, hitting so hard that my palms hurt. Then, out of righteous anger, I posted on social media, announcing their affair. I wasn't polite in my words, but the scolding felt exhilarating. I wished the whole world knew their shameful deeds. Uncle Fu and Auntie Fu, knowing they were in the wrong, had no choice but to agree to call off the engagement. 2 days later, that despicable Fuchishin dared to ask for my forgiveness. He knelt before me, crying, saying he was momentarily bewitched and that Lushurshur had seduced him shamelessly. The gentle and considerate Fuchishin seemed dead to me. I didn't recognize him anymore. I slapped him a few more times and told him to get lost. Fortunately, I was busy making money at the time and didn't stay heartbroken for long. Knowing such a man wasn't worth my sorrow, Chinchushing spoke in a husky voice. I hit him hard, and while he was spitting blood, he kept saying that Lin he loved him desperately. I was furious. I slammed my glass on the side table and rolled my eyes. Is he sick in the head? Chinchushing's eyes grew sad, and after a few seconds, he continued. Fuchishin said you were still willing to marry him. I beat him to a pulp, and 3 or 4 people couldn't stop me. I felt like I had gone mad at that moment. Auntie Fu cried. And only then did I stop. I just want to cry too. I froze. Looking at the person before me, trembling as I listened to his words, Shinshirshing seemed to be drunk, rarely speaking so much, word by word. Linhee, when I heard what he said, my heart felt like it was breaking. The girl he had silently protected for so many years, the girl he dared not even touch, was hurt like this. It was the first time Shinshirshing lost his composure. He pinned Fuchishin down, furiously throwing punches, one after another, as if this was the only way he could vent his frustration on behalf of his girl. Later, Shinshirshing walked out of the Fu family's grand entrance, sat in his car, and after a long while, tears began to fall, his shoulders trembling. Linhee, that was the first time I cried since I can remember. Linhee, you never knew, but I've liked you for many years. The night was hazy, the stars unusually bright. Shinshirshing raised his hand, wiping the tears from the corner of my eyes, gently coaxing. Ahi. Don't cry, forgive me for only daring to approach you through such despicable means. If you ask me now whether I like you or not, yes. And it's not just liking you, Linhee, I love you. My tears were unstoppable. No matter how much I wiped them away, I burrowed into Shinshirshing's arms, crying until my whole body shook. So it turns out that Shinshirshing has always loved me, his love cautious and silent, on many days unknown to me. He was always there protecting me, solving troubles and problems for me, that proud man, watching the girl he loves running towards other boys time and again. He thought many times, it didn't matter, as long as Linhee was happy. It turns out that Shinshirshing, this aloof and cool god of pure love, had been harboring a secret crush for so long. Later, when I pestered him relentlessly, he finally shyly talked about why he liked me. It's hard to describe specifically, but I like everything about you, whatever you do. I find it adorable, like how you talk to puppies, or how you cry over difficult math problems. Listening to him, I laughed till my eyes disappeared, teasing him. Brother, your ears are so red. Shinshirshing gently patted my head. Also, during middle school and high school, when I played basketball, you would bring me water, although Fuchishin did too, although it was just by chance and not intentional. He was secretly happy. The bright and radiant girl laughed under the sun, her voice crisp. Be careful, Shirshing, don't get hurt. Everyone else was cheering, but she said not to get hurt. Her casual act was something Shinshirshing remembered for many years. I never imagined that Shinshirshing and I would actually fall in love, 100 times happier than before, because I often express my love, and he no longer hides his feelings. I took on a movie role, the last part of which had to be shot deep in the mountains and forests. I stayed there for 2 weeks with barely any cell signal, only able to contact Shinshirshing occasionally. He has been very busy with work recently. I thought, perhaps it's better for him if I don't bother him. After the film wrapped up, I didn't even attend the wrap party and went back to the home I shared with Shinshirshing, hoping to surprise him. However, I waited at home until 11 o'clock, and Shinshirshing still hadn't returned. Just when I was starting to wonder, I received a few photos from an unknown number. Opening them, I was stunned for a moment. The photos were of Shinshirshing and another woman, clearly taken secretly. In the photos, Shinshirshing and the woman were in a parking lot, walking step by step towards a private car, seemingly enjoying each other's company. His usually expressionless face was smiling, looking incredibly charming. The last photo showed the woman's back as she tiptoed, blocking Shinshirshing's face, making it unclear whether they were kissing or not, sparking imagination. My mind went blank for a few seconds, and then the unknown number sent another message. Sister, no need to thank me. It was Lu Shirshir. Even through the screen, I could see her smug, gloating expression. But I refused to believe that Shinshirshing would betray me. I just couldn't. Taking a few deep breaths, I called Shinshirshing, and he answered quickly, his voice cheerful. Ahi, got a signal. Yes. Shinshirshing, where are you now? There was a brief silence before Shinshirshing replied. I'm at work, I repeated. Where are you? Ahi, what's wrong? Do you miss me? Shinshirshing seemed to sense something was off and quickly added, if you miss me, I can come see you tomorrow. Okay. My hand trembled as I held the phone, nearly losing my rationality, feeling that his evasive answers indicated guilt, so I raised my voice. I'm asking where you are. Who are you with? Shinshirshing obediently answered. Ahi, I'm at the company working, with a business partner. That place in the photos was clearly his company's parking lot, and he and that unfamiliar woman had clearly already left in a car. I suddenly found myself speechless. Oh, just like Fuchishin, I should have been straightforward and asked him directly, but I remained silent, fearful. I was scared of his betrayal, scared of repeating past mistakes. Shinshirshing seemed anxious now. I heard some noise on his side, then silence, and then his voice came through again. Ahi, I've moved to a quieter spot now. Ahi, what's wrong? Is work too hard? Can you tell me? I didn't speak, and Shinshirshing, usually a man of few words, patiently continued. Are you missing me, or are you checking on me out of concern? My voice trembled. No, I'm busy. Got to hang up. After that, I hung up the phone. I should trust Shinshirshing. That woman might just be a business partner. and that intimate photo could just be an issue of perspective. Lu Shishir deliberately took it that way to upset me. I kept convincing myself internally, calming down for a while, and was just about to call Chen Shishing back. Misunderstandings should be resolved through communication, but then Lu Shishir sent 2 more photos, taken from the same sneaky angle, at the same place. Featuring the same 2 people, the woman was dressed in a white dress, her waist cinched with a black jacket, while Chen Shishing stood to the side, wearing only a white shirt. No matter how you looked at it, that jacket seemed like it belonged to him. Lu Shishir said, "Sister, this was from yesterday." I didn't believe it. I needed Chen Shishing to admit it himself before I would believe it, but tears blurred my vision, making it impossible to see the phone screen clearly. After a long while, I angrily threw my phone, and the screen shattered into pieces. What was there to ask? Chen Shishing, being such a clean freak, never let anyone besides me touch his things. I can't remember how long I cried. My eyes hurt so much. It was 2 a.m., and Chen Shishing still hadn't come home. Fortunately, I hadn't unpacked the suitcase I dragged back from the film set. I just grabbed it and headed straight for the airport. There was a holiday coming up, so I decided to just go on a trip on a whim. On the plane, I slept twice, and when I arrived at a seaside city, it was really inconvenient without a phone, but I didn't buy one. I spent my days in the hotel eating and sleeping. It wasn't until the 3rd day that I remembered I was supposed to be on vacation, so I visited a few tourist spots. I didn't enjoy it much, afraid of being recognized. I covered up thoroughly, after much hesitation. I bought a new phone and got a new SIM card. When I turned on the phone, I found many messages from Chen Shishing. Oh, I had forgotten to clean up the broken phone, which led him to discover traces of my return home. Chen Shishing had said so much. Thankfully, I patiently read through it all and realized a huge misunderstanding had occurred. I really had misunderstood him. The next day, after Chen Shishing came home, he managed to turn on my broken phone and saw those photos. That broken phone really did well, despite its cracked screen. It still worked. Long live domestic products. I call on everyone to support our national goods. Chen Shishing explained that the woman was a professional marriage proposal planner. He was planning to propose to me. He had invited that person to the company's conference room to discuss the proposal process, each meeting no longer than 2 hours. Over just 2 days, he took this matter very seriously. So he escorted the planner to her car and even discussed the proposal details with her in those brief moments, making every second count. They hadn't traveled together, and as for any close contact, that was also untrue. The photos were simply a misunderstanding due to the angles. As for the jacket around the designer's waist, it wasn't his. The designer's white dress had accidentally gotten dirty, and a kind female colleague had lent her the jacket. Chen Shishing explained everything in detail. Worried I wouldn't believe him, and even retrieved footage from the surveillance cameras in the conference room, when the female colleague lent the jacket, and from the underground parking lot to show me, and it was all during the day, just that the lights in the underground parking lot made it look like night. When I called him, he was indeed busy at work in the office. Chen Shishing had been trying to wrap up some work so that he could take me on a vacation to a seaside island. Something he remembered I had wanted. Looking at all these messages, I felt like crying without tears, almost wanting to end it all. I really am convinced now. Next time, I will definitely communicate better instead of being angry at myself for 3 days. I was just about to head back to the hotel to pack and return when I was hit by a car while crossing the street. The pain knocked me out instantly. It's true. A person with bad luck even gets choked on water. Truly, I brought this on myself. When I woke up, I had just come out of the operating room, feeling groggy. Before I could fully grasp my current situation, my heart acted up again and I was rushed back into the operating room. Every part of me hurt, and I deeply missed Chen Shishing. The fear of dying was overwhelming. I was terrified that I might never see Chen Shishing again. I don't know how long I struggled in the darkness. Suddenly, I opened my eyes and found myself sitting on a sofa in a private room of a restaurant. Chen Shishing, looking exceedingly handsome, stood in front of me. His expression was nonchalant, like that of a carefree young master. He said he liked me. He asked if I wanted to be his girlfriend. Isn't it just calling me baby? You can't even do that, baby. After a moment, Chen Shishing's husky voice broke the silence, irresistibly charming. Pulling my thoughts from the past, I smiled and teased him. I didn't hear you clearly just now. Say it again, baby. Chen Shishing seemed unable to refuse any of my requests. I stopped joking and showed him a photo on my phone of Lu Qing and some man. Look at this. Do you recognize this man? He looks really familiar to me. Chen Shishing looked for a moment and said, he's someone from my father's business circle. I've seen him at gatherings before, and I've heard he's not a good person. It seems to be true. I furrowed my brow, and suddenly something flashed through my mind. I just remembered. I saw him a few days ago at Lao Lin's company. It looked like they were discussing a partnership. Years later, Lao Lin's company's finance department would face significant issues, apparently due to being deceived by a business partner. There were major flaws in the contract, so the responsibility naturally fell entirely on Lao Lin, who signed it. Realizing the seriousness of the matter, I immediately stood up to call Lao Lin. Perhaps he was busy. He didn't answer, which made me pace back and forth anxiously. Unable to watch this any longer, Shin came over and pulled me into an embrace, comforting me. Don't worry, if we can't reach him by phone, we'll go there right now. I looked up at Shin, about to respond, when suddenly everything went black, and I collapsed into his arms. When I woke up, I had been lying down for so long that my body felt uncomfortable. I sat up with a frown and suddenly remembered the matter. Quickly reaching for my phone on the nightstand, I turned it on, and was stunned. I had been unconscious for 2 whole days. Damn, I really hope I'm not going to die. Or is it back to a few years later? As I was panicking, the door to the room opened, and Shin walked in with a lunchbox. Seeing that I was awake, his eyes brightened. Ahi, you're awake. Do you feel unwell anywhere? He stood by the bed, looking a bit awkward, not knowing where to put his hands. I knew he was still shy and hesitant about being too affectionate too quickly due to the sudden shift in our relationship, so I shook my head and reached out. Hug, I need a hug. Shin no longer hesitated and bent down to embrace me, sighing softly as if he was finally able to relax. Right. I suddenly pulled back from his embrace, stuttering in my urgency. That man. Lao Lin, the contract, Shin gently stroked my head in a soothing manner. Don't worry, I sent someone to stop them from signing the contract. While you were in the hospital waiting for your test results, I personally went to see Uncle Lin and told him about the situation. He knew how much this mattered to me, so he was willing to personally take care of it. Your test results are the same as before, no problems at all. But I had repeatedly lost consciousness many times. Each time longer than the last, this time for 2 whole days. I flashed him a bright smile and praised him. Leaving things in Shin hands was definitely the right choice. Our Shin is the best. He understands me the most. Of course my body is fine. Just a bit weak. I'll just need to nourish myself more. Don't worry. Now, Lao Lin will definitely divorce that Lu Qing. Ha ha ha. Shin frowned slightly. How could he not worry? He was so worried that he couldn't eat or sleep well. But seeing my smile, he swallowed his words and prepared to look for a better hospital for a more thorough checkup. I called Lao Lin, who I had previously instructed Shin not to inform about my fainting episodes to avoid worrying him, so Lao Lin was unaware of this incident. He told me that he was preparing to divorce Lu Qing and was currently drafting the divorce papers. After hanging up the phone, I looked at Shin, who was earnestly feeding me, and I couldn't help but feel that this glorious arrow was exactly as I had wished, temporarily forgetting the sorrow of unconsciousness. Indeed, a handsome guy cures everything. Fuchishin came to see me. He blocked the entrance to my classroom, looking at me with a face full of sorrow. Hey, I really miss you. He couldn't understand why I had suddenly changed, not only showing him a cold face but also refusing to meet and even blocking all his contact methods. He had no idea what he had done wrong. Holding a few books, I said expressionlessly, "Excuse me, hey, what did I do wrong? Can you tell me, please?" It seemed he wouldn't leave me alone without a clear explanation, so I coldly said, "I just don't like seeing you. Can you not appear in front of me?" Fuchishin was visibly shaken, seemingly not expecting such words from me, and was stunned for a moment. Hey, after a pause, I added, "By the way, I'm with Shin now. You should know, right? We are very close and might even get engaged soon. Wish us happiness." I did it partly to stand up for Shin. Hearing this, Fuchishin's expression changed repeatedly. He remembered the last time they met at the hotel entrance, where he bragged about his close relationship with Lin, almost ready to make it official. But now, they were about to get engaged. Was he really the clown here? Fuchishin involuntarily clenched his fist at his side. He admitted that he often used Lin to provoke Shin because he realized that Shin liked Lin, but his feelings for Lin were genuine. He truly liked her, even if he had used her without her knowledge. He hadn't hurt her. I walked past him, hoping this would be the last of his annoyances, but just a few steps away, he grabbed my wrist, and I immediately shook it off. "Fuchishin, what do you want?" Fuchishin held onto my arm tightly, not letting me go. Looking intently at me as if searching for a lie. "Lin, you're lying to me, aren't you? Are you just angry that I haven't confessed my feelings? We've always liked each other, right? Where does this delusional man come from? Can he just not?" But it's not surprising he's acting so desperately. From his perspective, it seemed like one moment the girl was shyly smiling at him, and the next, telling him to get lost. Hey, I like you. Can't we be together? Please don't be mad, okay? I know you must be lying to me. You and Shin must have planned this together, right? Or did Shin deceive you? You mustn't believe a word Shin says. He's always disliked us and never wanted to play with us. Why would you choose to be with him now? I couldn't break free from his grip, and the books I was holding scattered on the ground, attracting the attention of many around us. I screamed out loud, cutting off his words. "If it's about going crazy, well, I've lived longer than him. I don't believe I can out-crazy him." Fuchishin, are you out of your mind, spouting all this nonsense? This degree of delusion really opens my eyes. Who I am with is my choice. Does your family own the sea that you're so overbearing? I was about to continue, But suddenly Fuchishin was knocked to the ground with a punch. I turned my head and saw Chinchushing with a stern face, and for a moment, I was dazed. He seemed to slowly merge with the man who would save me years later. He would always rescue me from danger. Of this, I had no doubt. After all, this was at school, and I was worried that any further conflicts between them would affect their studies, so I took Chinchushing by the hand and left. Before we left, of course, I had to flaunt our interlocked hands in front of Fuchishin. Chinchushing was silent the whole way, just letting me lead him by the hand. I chattered nonstop on the side, talking endlessly. I was used to him not speaking, just silently listening, knowing that he was bothered by what had just happened. He felt insecure because the long-awaited affection had come so suddenly and unexpectedly. Chinchushing couldn't believe his good fortune, yet he found himself unable to refuse it. When we got home, I threw myself into Chinchushing's arms, letting him lift me up. It's better at home, where I can hug and kiss Chinchushing all I want. Come on, give me a kiss to cheer things up. After a lot of warm and affectionate time, I looked at Chinchushing, who finally managed to smile, and fell into thought. Seeing him look a bit aggrieved and insecure earlier, I almost impulsively asked him if he wanted to get engaged. Maybe that would make him feel more secure, but I held back from asking. Having been happy and carefree for so long, I had almost forgotten where I came from. What if I suddenly went back? Would Chinchushing still remember everything as it is now? If he did, being as stubborn as he is, he would probably wait for me for a lifetime. I know without testing how full his love for me is, but given the current circumstances, the more I think about it, the less at ease I feel. Seemingly noticing my prolonged silence, Chinchushing shifted his gaze from the television to my face and quietly asked what was wrong. I shook my head and closed my eyes to kiss his lips. Once I touched on the inner unease, the feeling grew stronger, and the issues I had been pondering kept reappearing in my mind. Sure enough, not long afterward, I passed out again. This time I was unconscious for a whole 10 days. My physical examination was still normal, but I just couldn't wake up, and this kind of case had never been seen before. With such a long time, it was impossible to keep it from old Lin, who cried several times beside my hospital bed. In the still of the night, Chinchushing would also hold my hand and secretly shed tears, then chatter on and on just like I did. When I finally woke up, everyone was overjoyed to tears, but my expression was indifferent. I insisted on not staying in the hospital any longer and wanted to go home. Chinchushing kept holding my hand, unwilling to let go. I gave him a reassuring smile, but my face was expressionless when he couldn't see it. I sat up alone until dawn. I thought to myself for a long, long time. In the end, I packed my things into a suitcase, ready to leave. Chinchushing just came out of the room and saw this scene. He walked up and asked where I was going. I didn't hide it anymore, unable to muster a smile, just said, "I'm moving out." He was silent for a while, then asked, "Why, so suddenly?" I lowered my eyes, pursed my lips, my fingertips turning white as they clutched the suitcase, but soon I looked up and said softly, "I don't want to live here anymore." Why? It wasn't like him to ask so many questions one after another. There's no particular reason. I paused, steeled my heart, and said, "Chinchushing, let's break up." Chinchushing seemed unfazed by the surprise. He said, "Seeing you like this, I already had my suspicions. Linhee, you come and go as you please." I smiled and replied, "Yes. I come and go as I please. I've always been willful like that." Chinchushing grabbed my wrist, pulling me into the room, and was about to close the door when he froze upon hearing my light-hearted words. "Chinchushing, aren't you being childish? Do you really think you can keep me here? We're only on the second floor. I won't die if I jump from the balcony." Chinchushing forcefully pushed the door open. It slammed against the wall with a loud noise, and he strode towards me. Standing right in front of me, my expression was calm as I looked up at him, but I was taken aback for a moment. His eyes were red. Chinchushing said that if I had any intentions from the start, I should have just told him directly. He would have fulfilled my wishes, and there was no need for me to go to such lengths only to leave him afterward. "Linhee, what exactly do you want? What made you put on this act? You played it so well." He was almost convinced. Why stop all of a sudden? My hand clenched into a fist, my fingernails digging deep into my flesh, causing severe pain in my palm, yet my heart felt no pain. I flashed a mischievous smile, showing my canines, and looked at him, feigning nonchalance. "I wanted to know what it feels like to toy with someone's emotions, especially someone as esteemed as you. Others are boring, but seducing a prized catch like you is interesting. Seeing someone as proud as you, who has never faced setbacks from childhood, bow down to me is just too thrilling." Haha, Chinchushing, you can't be serious, right? So gullible to believe whatever I say. Chinchushing stared at me intently, standing there for a long, long time, so long that I almost couldn't keep up the act, almost breaking down crying and throwing myself into his arms. He finally turned and left without a word. I also turned away, wiping away the tears that almost instantly fell. I heard it. During the 10 days I was unconscious, in the dead of night, Chinchushing holding my hand, his low, hoarse voice saying all those words. I heard them. He said he really liked me, that he had liked me for a very long time, but he was afraid to let me know. He believed that I truly liked him too, and that made him very happy every day. He said he really wanted to kiss me, to hold me, urging me to wake up soon as he was worried sick. In the darkness, I listened to his words, wanting to cry, wanting to respond, but I couldn't move. My eyelids felt as heavy as if they weighed 1,000 pounds and wouldn't lift. Previously, being unconscious was like sleeping. I wasn't conscious like this time. Compared to always believing I had time traveled, now I'm more inclined to think I've been reborn into the year I turned 20. I probably died in the hospital, unable to return to the future, so I guess if I fall unconscious again, I might never wake up. In other words, it was as if I had died, since I was going to die anyway. I felt I had to consider what would happen to Chen. I couldn't bear the thought of him being all alone in this world. I've mentioned before how much Chen loves me. He's very stubborn. He might just wait for me forever, but if I say something hurtful like this, maybe it will push him away. Chen, please go love someone else, I beg you. I don't want to see you lonely in the future. I would hate myself for that. I didn't go back to my own home to stay, although Li Qing and Li Shishir were no longer there, which was a relief. If I had gone back, Mr. Lin would surely nag me about my health issues. I didn't want to worry him. It's better to avoid additional problems. So I decided to stay at a hotel. I had planned to adjust my mood. But no matter what fun I sought, I couldn't find happiness. It's like karma, I thought with a bitter smile. But it's okay, as long as Chen can be happy. Let him repeatedly recall the words I said, let him deepen his hatred for me, then forget me and go love someone else, and have a happy life. 2 days have passed, and I haven't passed out yet. Suddenly, Chen called me, at 20 years old, for the first time. He spoke to me with a choked voice. It was just like how he would confess to me in the future. My defenses were nearly crumbling. Chen asked me, is it true that you can't take cephalosporins after drinking alcohol? I was stunned for 2 seconds. Did you take cephalosporins after drinking? No, I took it before drinking. You need to go to the hospital. No, Chen, are you trying to kill yourself? I won't go unless you come to see me. I rushed to his house and saw him sitting on the floor, leaning against the sofa, surrounded by empty bottles. I squatted down. Chen, how much cephalosporin did you take? Exactly when? You're still drinking. If you drink more, don't push me to slap you. Chen, slightly tipsy, had a blush on his pale face and foolishly smiled at me. I was lying. I didn't take any. I turned to leave, but he grabbed my wrist and pulled me into his arms. It took so much to trick you into coming here. You're not leaving now, Chen. You're shameless. Yeah, I am. Chen was strong, and I couldn't break free, so I prepared to start mocking him, hoping to wake him up with a few harsh words, hoping to drive him away forever. But before I could speak, he leaned close to my ear, no longer able to maintain his forced smile, and said, Linhee, even if you were deceiving me, can you keep deceiving me? Please, even if it's a deception, take some responsibility and keep it going. Chen gave a bitter smile. I'm bowing my head to you, letting you deceive me. Can you keep deceiving me? Whatever you want, I'll give it to you. Linhee, don't leave me. His eyes were profound, the corners tinged with red, making me unable to look any longer. I averted my gaze, my heart pounding like thunder. What should I do? I'm almost swayed. Stop looking at me like that. It makes my heart soften. Linhee, your heart is so cruel. To simply cast me away like that. Chen reached out, holding me tightly, tears endlessly falling as he spoke in a drunken haze, repeating those words over and over. What he said the most was, can you keep deceiving me? Please, no. I don't have much life left. I can't afford to do wrong anymore. What if I can't reincarnate smoothly after death? If we can't be together in the next life, I would be very sad. Chen, in our next life, let's be together, okay? 23. This year marks the 4th year Linhee has been lying in a hospital bed. That night, after Chen sobered up from his drunkenness, he found Linhee had slipped into a coma and immediately called the driver to take them to the hospital. Linhee was placed in a private hospital room, where she lay for 4 years. Chen had thought she would wake up like before, but she never did. Her face was calm, as if she was merely sleeping. Time is endless, but life is not. And Chen often feared that she might never wake up. Fortunately, her heart was still beating normally, and a full body checkup showed no problems. Over these years, the place Chen visited the most was the hospital. Sitting there all afternoon, all night long, he could never get enough of looking at Linhee. He had forgotten all the hurtful things she had said to him. Chen only remembered the good about her bright smile, her sparkling eyes, and the 2 canine teeth that showed when she laughed. Chen became as talkative as her, telling her lots of things about the blooming flowers in spring, the first snow in winter, about his daily life and work, about the silly things he saw her do when they were kids. He spoke of his longing for her and the love he had once kept unspoken. Chen parents understood his feelings, but no one urged him to give up. No one suggested he find another girl to marry and have children with. They said, he will wake up soon. Chen smiled gently, his eyes curving. Much like the person he spoke of, yes, if she wakes up now, I can take her to that little island she always wanted to visit, to enjoy the sea breeze where it's neither too cold nor too hot. Shinshouxing reached out to hold Linny's hand, hoping to transfer the warmth of his palm to her. Ahi, I told Uncle Lin that I want to marry you. He said it depends on what you think. What are your thoughts? Maybe you could tell me in a dream. You're so heartless, never once appearing in my dreams. Ahi. You really love to sleep. It was a day when spring was in bloom, and as Shinshouxing was on his way to the hospital, he saw flowers beautifully and vigorously blooming along the way. He pushed open the door, and when he saw the seated figure, he was stunned, dropping the big bunch of white roses he was holding, making a noise. That person looked over, smiling with curving eyes, her voice clear. Shinshouxing, long time no see. I won't oversleep anymore. When will you take me to that seaside island to enjoy the breeze?